Can you hear me?
Hear you.
Hello?
We can
Can you
hear
hear
you.
me?
We can hear
Yes,
you.
we
Okay,
can hear
thank
you.
you.
We haven't started yet. It's at least 10 more minutes.
That's okay. I was just wanted to I want to get on and I will put my okay, let me see. I have to Hey Larry, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good, good.
An exciting night, an election tonight.
Yup. As they say, yup. Let's see.
Thank you for the work that you and the committee have done this year. You've done a great job.
So
A year comes around quickly, doesn't it, Larry?
Well, I guess so. Maybe too quickly.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
I hear you, Letty.
We
Okay,
can
because
hear
it keeps
you.
going,
We have,
the sound keeps going on and on and off.
no one is saying anything right now.
Yeah, we're
No.
just waiting until the meeting begins.
No,
If you
I'm talking about, I'm talking about on my sound, the microphone keeps getting a red line and not, even when I don't touch it. That's why I'm asking. But thank you, Jesus.
Here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'll do a live picture when we start.
at 7:03 p.m. And tonight we are joined by Secretary Steve O, District Manager Jesus Perez, Assistant District Manager Brandon Berth, and Community Coordinator Brian Lafferty. As a reminder, New York State law requires all community board members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the meeting is adjourned. And before we begin, I do want to thank Waterside again for hosting us. But as a reminder for all members, we are a guest in this space. So please make sure to pick up all trash at the end of the night. And also be reminded that we do have a hard stop at 9:30 p.m. So please keep that in mind as we make our comments, that we are succinct and to the point and mindful of time. So to conduct an efficient meeting tonight, let's observe a few ground rules. First, no one may speak until granted the floor. Please first raise your hand and wait for me to recognize you. Then you can make your motion or comment. Board members, it is important that only one person speaks at a time, so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said by each board member. And please wait until you're in front of a mic to speak. We've heard feedback already from viewers at home and even in-person attendees at our meetings are sometimes hard to hear at times. The chat function should not be used for CB6 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom, and the chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties we're having or to state information such as a link or address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. And to the members of the public, if you wish to give remarks during the public session tonight and have not already registered by filling out a form, you can register to speak in the public session on Zoom by using the Q&A feature on Zoom and posting your name, affiliation, and the specific topic you wish to speak about. If you're here in person and want to speak in the public session, please fill out our public speaker form, which is near the signs for the CB6 newsletter. All of this needs to be completed by 7:15 p.m. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office, was posted online, and appears on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Board members, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand.
Anything, but I'm not done, certainly.
All right, seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The secretary will now take attendance by roll call. I'll switch it over to Steve O.
We will now take attendance by roll call. Board members, when your name is called, please say present. Majid Abdul Samad. Present. Present. Kyle Tide.
Present.
Neil Barclay. Neil Barclay.
He's present. Present.
Martin Barrett.
Present.
Ellie Barroso. Present. Claire Brennan. Claire Brennan. Jim Collins.
Here.
Jonathan Derrico.
Present.
Stu Desser.
Present.
Michael Devereaux.
Present.
Beatrice Disman.
Present.
Barack Friedman.
Present.
Jason Fromowitz.
Present.
Eric Goldberg.
Present.
Gerald Jones. Gerald Jones. Paige Judge.
Present.
Rupal Kakad. Rupal Kakad.
Present.
She's present. Okay. John Keller.
Present.
Nadeem Kalani.
Present.
Abigail Cruzmark.
Present.
Sandra Leftoff.
Present.
David Lowenstein.
Present.
Anton Molnar.
Present.
Sandra McKee.
Present.
Present.
Richard Mintz.
Present.
Present.
Rajesh Nair.
Present.
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe.
Present.
Self. Rashma Patel.
Present.
Stephen Perez.
Present.
Miriam Roof.
Present.
Matt Roberts.
Present.
Roberto Reyes Melendez,
Present.
Larry Shire,
Present.
Ann Seligman. Ann? Sandra Sherrod,
Present.
Livia Shrednick,
Present.
Letty Simon,
Present.
Susan Steinberg, Mark Thompson, Gabriel Turzo. Gabriel Turzo,
Present.
marking present. Brian Van Eubenhoven,
Present.
Jerry Weinstein,
Present.
Matthew Weitraub. Matthew Weitraub. Laura Wong. Peter Zaidi.
Present.
Present.
With 41
yes.
present. Sorry.
Steve Claire is also in the room as well.
Oh, Claire's in the room.
Mhm.
With 42 present, we are a quorum.
Right, thank you very much, Steve. I've asked all of our elected officials to send over the reports ahead of time so that we can compile them. You can find all of the reports that were submitted on the CB6 website. The link to the reports was disseminated ahead of time to all board members and the general public, and for your convenience can be found in the chat on Zoom now for those. Anyone attending the meeting in person can find it by going to our website's page for full board meetings. I will now call on each of the elected officials who have RSVP so that they can take questions from CB6 members and the public about their pre-submitted reports. Each elected official will have 1 minute to field questions. If there are no questions, we will move to the next elected official on. If an elected official has a time-sensitive matter to report on that didn't make it into their pre-submitted report, they will have 3 minutes to do so. During this part of the meeting, we will also hear from government agency representatives who have requested to address the board tonight. So first up, we have Raka from the Borough President's Office.
Hi, everyone. I mostly will just, be here for questions, but I do just want to flag the top item on our agenda coming up is the Manhattan Leadership Training Series. We're bringing that back. It's next week. You should have received an email today with information to register for the various sessions. Most of them are virtual, but a couple of them are in person as well. Please RSVP, and we hope to see many of you there. And everything else in terms of what we've been up to, you can definitely see in the notes that have already been distributed.
All right, thank you very much, Raka. Seeing no questions. Do I see a question from an attendee? Okay, so we'll figure that off offline. All right, so seeing no further questions for the Borough President's Office, thank you very much. We'll now move on to Hannah from Representative Nadler's office.
Everyone, good evening. I'm Hannah Wienerman. Like Bracha said, there's a lot of information in the report that I sent over. Some information can also be found on our website at nadler.house.gov. And I just want to flag that open enrollment for Medicare is opened on October 15th and closes December 7th. So if you have any questions about enrollment, feel free to call our office. And also if you have any questions about the board report I submitted, feel free to ask them now.
All right, Hannah, thank you very much. Seeing no questions for the Representative's Office, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to James from Assemblymember Boris' office.
Hi, everyone. Just quick update, barring any questions. I do want to let everyone know that this month's meeting will be my last community board meeting as a member of Assemblymember Boris's team. I just want to thank you all very much. I'm sure I'll see you all around plenty, and I'll keep everybody posted with what I'll be doing next. Our Chief of Staff, Brian, will be the point of contact moving forward for the office. Thank you all. And if there's any questions, I still got you.
All right, seeing no questions, but want to congratulate you on your next steps, James, and Board 6. You've been particularly active and receptive to our communications, so we do appreciate it. Thank you. All right, next up, we have Joanna from Assemblymember Epstein's office.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Please refer to our newsletter for any updates. For now, Team Harvey, there's a holiday party coming up, and feel free to refer to our newsletter. It will be Thursday, December 7th from 6 to 8 p.m. We hope to see you there. And all the information is in our newsletter along with additional updates. I will submit my information in the chat, and I'm open to any questions that anyone has. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. Seeing no questions for the Assembly member, thank you very much. We'll now move on to Justin from Senator Kruger's office.
Hello, Justin Flagg from Senator Kruger's office. I have nothing to add to our report, but happy to take any questions.
All right, any questions for Senator Kruger's office in person or on Zoom? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Justin.
Thanks.
We'll now move to Pat from Councilmember Powers' office.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have anything additional to add to our report, but if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you, Pat. Are there any questions for Councilmember Powers' office? Yep, Stu. Just wait for Brian to give you the mic.
Thank you. Intro 1243 gives the City Corporation Council the authority to declare that certain cannabis businesses are public nuisances and they can be shut down. What are the mechanisms that will actually engage this law, though? How will who compiles the addresses or submits the addresses? How will it be enforced? And most important, how do we as a community board help support enforcement of this provision?
Sure, good question. I could definitely reach out to our legislative team who's been working on this, and I know they've been in contact with a number of the enforcement agencies that would be dealing with the responsibility here. I don't have the answer right now, but I can definitely put my information in the chat, and you can definitely reach out to me, and I can follow up with you offline.
All right, we have another question from Jim.
Sure.
I've long supported the regulations for what's called formula business zoning to preserve the retail space for small and independent businesses. These cannabis shops are basically a license to earn money, so landlords can demand whatever cash they want and receive it. And that tends to drive out the small independent businesses. I'm just wondering if there, with respect to the legal cannabis shops, is there any provision in the law, or is there any effort to limit them with respect to population of the area that they will be located?
That's also a very interesting question. I'm not too certain. I could definitely check in with our legislative team and get more info on this, because it seems like there's some specifics on this that you guys are looking for. I could definitely take any specific questions on the bills and get back to you offline, or on the issue itself.
I'd appreciate it, because
absolutely
it's popping up everywhere. Plus the illegal ones that have the identical license to print money. It's killing, small independent businesses that are trying to find retail space.
Absolutely.
All right, seeing no further questions online or in person, thank you very much, Pat. Next up, we have Peyton from Senator Gonzalez's office.
Good evening. I don't have anything to add beyond our report, but I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, any questions for Senator Gonzalez's office, in person or on Zoom? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, Peyton.
Thank you.
Robin from Mayor Adams' office.
Hi, good evening. Nice to see everybody, or the people I can see. Just a couple quick updates. Today, the mayor announced the launch of a task force to combat retail theft. We've all heard lots of stories about that as a real issue that we're facing. The task force will bring together elected officials, including the Attorney General, all the 5 district attorneys, representatives from law enforcement, as well as business groups, retailers, and organized labor. The purpose, the result will be to advise the Adams administration on legislative proposals that are aimed to addressing retail theft and enhance intelligence sharing between stakeholders to be able to respond better to trends and crime patterns. So that's an important quality of life issue, I think. The mayor announced, I don't know if you heard, that the city had reached an all-time high in jobs. The nearly 1 million jobs that were lost during the pandemic have been recovered. Despite the warnings that New York City was done, it wasn't. So we're happy to report a thriving economy. In speaking of jobs, New York City reached an important milestone. The city has trained 5,000 registered nurses through a citywide residency program. And we're the first city in the country to implement such a program. It has been implemented in 28 healthcare facilities across the city. And the rate of retention from the program is a incredible 96%, which is considerably greater than the average. And with that, I will let you get on with your meeting unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Robin. Are there any questions from the mayor's office? We have Miriam.
Hi, I'm wondering if there are any updates around work permits for the asylum seekers, especially those on parole or TPS.
I don't have a real update. I know that work is continuing to make that a reality for the huge number of people, particularly from Venezuela, who have the status. And I think there's a processing that's going on now, and I believe it's moving forward, but I can't give you a specific update. If you'd like, I can research it and get back to Brendan, who can reach you.
All right, thank you, Robin. Seeing no further questions, thank you very much. All right, we do have a message from Eric Straza from District Attorney Bragg's office. Unfortunately, couldn't make it tonight, but does direct us to his report in his absence. Are there any elected officials or staffers who did not RSVP who are on the meeting tonight? Oh, there you go, Katie.
Hi, everyone. Katie from Councilmember Rivera's office. My additional announcement is that we released our East Side Tree Survey. Is available online. Oh, it's not on? Sorry.
Take two. Take two.
Katie from Councilmember Rivera's office. We released our East Side Tree Survey, which I know many of you helped with. It's available online, and if you need a print copy, you can also contact us and we can provide one for you, and I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Councilmember Rivera's office, online or in person? All right, thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to the public session. Jesus, has anyone signed up to speak in the public session?
Yes, I have. Let's see. The first speaker, Mr. Alexander E. Xenopoulos, are you here? Going once, going twice, Alexander E. Xenopoulos. Okay, we'll move on. Mr. Sean Vakill, are you here? Either in person or online? Okay, once, going twice, Sean Vakill. Okay, next, Fatima Zora Nuinu, are you here? Going once, going twice. Fatima Zora Nuinu. All right, Dr. Juan Vasquez, are you here?
He is here on Zoom.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, we can hear you. Dr. Juan Vasquez is a resident physician in emergency medicine at Bellevue Hospital, and he is here on behalf of his union to speak to the board about contract negotiations with New York City Health and Hospitals. Dr. Vasquez, you have 3 minutes for your remarks. You may begin your remarks now.
Great. Thank you so much. My camera is not on, so I apologize for that. But it is very good to be here. Thank you all for making the time. Again, my name is Dr. Vasquez. I'm a resident physician in the emergency department at Bellevue Hospital. As stated, I'm here today on behalf of my union, the Committee of Interns and Residents, or CIR, to talk about our fight for fair pay and benefits from NYC Health and Hospitals, our employer, and why that matters for the quality of care we want to continue providing to our community. Our number one priority is a living wage and pay parity with other physicians at safety net hospitals in the city. This is crucial because in order to keep attracting great doctors to complete residency at health and hospitals, we have to compensate them fairly. We're very fortunate to be working at Bellevue and other H&H hospitals where we can care for anyone who comes through the hospital doors, regardless of their ability to pay. It's an honor to be able to provide that kind of treatment. And honestly, that's why many of us went into medicine in the first place. But we are also incredibly overworked and underpaid. We work up to 80 hours a week and yet struggle to pay our rent in the city and to care for our own needs at home. That's why more than 50% of the residents and fellows at H&H just signed a petition demanding a fair contract in our negotiations with the city. What we want to achieve in our bargaining with the city is some measure of financial security and well-being so that we can take care of our own needs, of our families, and that we can be rested when we come to the hospital, which will allow us to be even more present with our patients. That's what's amazing about Bellevue is that people know that you can get care there, whether you can pay for it or not. You won't get a huge bill when you get home that's going to make you bankrupt as you recover. Personally, I get to work with the patients that went to medicine to serve, folks like the people I grew up with who are multilingual, very diverse, low income, working in middle class, immigrants like myself whom I can speak to in their own language. And this is what H&H is and what it can be. We're simply asking the city to invest in the workers who make this kind of care possible. We need a fair contract. And we're kindly asking for your support in this fight in the months to come. Again, thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you very much. Next on the list is Will Proctor, a resident of Community District 6. Mr. Proctor, are you here?
He is here on Zoom.
Okay. Mr. Proctor, you wishes to speak to the board about an item that is on the agenda tonight, item 2A, a resolution on the zoning for economic opportunity text amendment. Mr. Proctor, you have 3 minutes to make your remarks. You may begin your remarks now.
Hi, thanks for letting me speak today. I am a resident of the community and I want to just support the City of Yes initiative. I think our city is in a housing crisis, as probably everyone here knows. And this is a great step in the right direction to improve the affordability of our city and allow everyone who wants to be in the city to live in the city to be able to do that. So I support most of it. Particularly the one thing I want to highlight is removing the parking minimums citywide. Parking minimums are like a pseudoscience that raise the price of housing for people who don't need, for some people who don't need it. So in New York City, it's the best transit system in the country. So I think having parking minimums is antithetical to a thriving city and should be removed. Yeah, I appreciate you all listening to me today, and thank you. That's all I want to say. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Proctor. All right, next on the list is Mr. Michael Cohen. All right, Mr. Michael Cohen is a resident of this district, and he wishes to speak to the board about an item that is on our agenda tonight, item 3A, relating to city council legislation that would require e-bikes, scooters, and the like to be licensed and registered. Mr. Cohen, you may begin your remarks. Right now, you have 3 minutes.
I think it's great to have e-bikes and scooters be subject to more restrictions than they are now. They can go along at very fast speeds, especially at ones with a throttle. And it's possible that the scooters the batteries can blow up, the wrong batteries put in there. And they aren't built to very high safety standards. So like, that's subject to any sort of inspection to make sure it's safe, and they're very different in some way from a regular bicycle. And they're motorized while at the same time they have pedals that assist the pedaling or can be used instead of the throttle. So I think that it's great to make sure that riders know what they're doing when they ride an e-bike, and to make sure that they ride them safely, and that they exercise proper riding for e-bike, and that the e-bike is compliant with inspection standards and safety standards to make sure it's safe to ride. To make sure that the e-bikes don't cause accidents, and that people ride them safe, because, like I said, they're motorized. Unlike regular bikes, that makes things a lot more dangerous potentially. They have a motor, and they should be required to be registered like any other vehicle. And I think at the minimum that all riders should be certified in safely riding an e-bike, ensure that they know more about e-bikes and how to ride them properly. And also, I'm concerned about like the potential of e-bike accidents. That people may be using e-bikes when you may not be so careful of your use on them. And there may be any accidents with other vehicles, and I don't think there's lots of problems like that. And I think that it's definitely worth it to register e-bikes and to place restrictions on their use.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cohen, for your remarks. That concludes the speakers list for the public session tonight.
Thank you, Jesus. The minutes for the October 11th meeting are not ready yet for adoption, so we will discuss at our next meeting in December. We're now at the chair's report, which I will waive due to our agenda today, and I'll give it over to the district manager, Jesus Perez, for his report.
I'll waive my report as well.
We now will hear from our treasurer for the treasurer's report. B.
Thank you, Carl. I will be very quick. According to the Office of Management and Budget, the amount of budget that we have to operate this fiscal year is $576,361. That includes our street fair money, what we've encumbered and liquidated to date as of November 3rd. For rent, $174,211. That's the total amount for the fiscal year, which needed to be encumbered and liquidated. Personnel services at $77,164.26. Other than personal services, $11,880.48. And we have unencumbered money as of November 3rd of $313,105.26. Thank you, Carl. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
All right, thank you, B. I see no questions. All right, I'll now turn it over to John Dorico.
All right, we made it, guys. Election night. Yesterday was just a trial run. This is gonna be an election. This is the one that matters. We're gonna try to keep it as concise as possible. Thank you to all the submitted questions. So to kick us off, the CD6 Elections Committee met on September 30th, 2023, and several more times as needed. Nominations were received, and I, as the chair of the Elections Committee, communicated with all candidates and received personal assurances from each candidate that, if elected, they will assume the role and responsibilities of such position. At the October full board meeting, no additional nominees were offered from the floor. On November 4th, 2023, the Elections Committee disseminated written statements from all candidates who elected to submit such statements. We trust that the board has thoroughly reviewed these statements in preparation for tonight's election. The candidates are as follows. Chair, Sandra McKee. For Chair, Brian Van Nieuwenhoven. For First Vice Chair, John Keller. For First Vice Chair, Kevin O'Keefe. Second Vice Chair, Mark Thompson. For Treasurer, Gabe Terzo. For Assistant Treasurer, Beatrice Disman. For Secretary, Olivia screwed up your name last time too. So it's not personal, I promise. For Secretary, Lydia Shrednick. For Assistant Secretary, Rupal, excuse me. Thank you for correcting me. We have two contested races this year, for Chair and for First Vice Chair. The candidates for Chair and First Vice Chair may now address the board as permitted by the CD6 bylaws. Each candidate for Chair shall make a statement not to exceed 3 minutes. Once these 3 minutes have elapsed, a chime will sound to indicate that time is up and that the candidates should conclude their statement. I ask the candidates to please be respectful of the board's time, this process, and make sure they do not go over and to stop as soon as they hear the chime. And of course, be respectful and kind to each other. The speaking order of the candidates shall be alphabetically by last name. After the candidates in each contested race have made their statement, I will read questions from the board. The submitted questions were excellent. For the sake of time, I have collated the questions and only ask those questions not covered by candidates' written and oral statements. Let's proceed. First, Sandy and then Brian Van Nieuwenhoven for Chair. Sandy, the floor is all yours. Your 3 minutes in whenever Jesus is ready.
All right. Sandy, you may begin.
Good evening. I want to start with a bit of my history. I hope you know me as the chair of the Land Use and Waterfront Committee, but I joined the board 12 years ago as a bicycling advocate. I've held the following roles. I've been on the Bylaws Committee, Public Safety and Environment, Strategic Community Planning. I was chair of the Transportation Committee for 5 years, and I represent the board on the ESCR Community Advisory. In those roles, I've been able to be an advocate for the district and gained a deep knowledge of how the city works. It allowed me to meet and develop relationships with many of our community groups. It's been refreshing to have the opportunity to speak to many of you. The past few years, it's been very difficult to be inclusive and to know the strengths and the goals of our members. An issue that came up very often was how to meet the needs of our board and ways that we can contribute to the work of the board. So we can develop task forces and subcommittees to address initiatives that cross committee lines. We can have wider participation in setting agendas. We have 50 members, about 50. We need to delegate. We don't want to waste our time, but we do want to be transparent and approachable. We need to know how to utilize our resources, to listen to the board and the community, and to make our needs known. We have to reinforce the goals that we have already agreed on: developing affordable housing, reducing homelessness, and improving and expanding our parks and our open spaces. I also want to address sustainable solutions for our district: waterfront access, bioswales, tree coverage, making Second Avenue a street and not a highway. There are major issues coming before our community in the next year. There's a uniform land use review procedure to increase allowable built area for 455 First Avenue. There's the development of the Brookdale site at First Avenue and 25th Street to turn it into a science and research park called Spark. There's a proposed casino on First Avenue, and there's the potential closing of Mount Sinai Elizabeth Hospital. These issues will all require us to gain the support of our elected officials and mobilize our community. I'm proud of clarifying complex. Not speaking very well, but hopefully I can be proud of clarifying complex issues, bringing people together to create a positive result for the community. I'm confident that as a practicing architect and urban designer, my experience will be instrumental in responding to these issues. I also know that we will need to rely on our entire board to achieve solutions that will make Community District 6 a better place to live, to work, and to raise families. I ask for your vote tonight to continue to make CD6 a board that represents civil and thoughtful engagement with our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Candy.
Can I tell you how many times I've tried this? Thank you.
Ryan, the floor is all yours. Your 3 minutes begin whenever Jesus is ready.
All right, you may begin.
I want to begin by thanking the election committee for your hard work, the office staff and current leadership for all you have done to get us through the pandemic and navigating the post-COVID world for our communities, and the other candidates tonight for committing to this board and sharing your ideas. Over the last 9 years, I have served as the chair of the Budget and Governance Affairs Committee, that was how we call it that, the chair of transportation, and as board officer when I served as assistant treasurer and treasurer. I have been intimately involved with setting an executive vision for the board and its operations. I've worked with and mentored individual members. I've personally written many resolutions and arranged meeting agendas. I understand how to set our budget priorities and district needs and how to communicate with our agencies and electeds to achieve results. As your next chair, I will build on our collective successes, continue our role as a think tank for the district, and fully build our board into an engine of innovation and aspiration. Anyone who has spoken with me knows that I can dive deep into an issue, which not only shows my interest in learning all aspects of an issue, but my love for this community and my faith in this board. Over the years, by establishing shared values and harnessing our collective insights and efforts, as committee chair, I have led a vision for a better Third Avenue, reimagining the East River waterfront and the FDR Drive, safer streets in our district for pedestrians, cyclists, and automobiles, important transit improvements, including accessible subway entrances and dedicated bus lanes, and increased access to voting for our residents. Over the next year, we must make strides in completing the East River Greenway. We need to address the closure of Mount Sinai to ensure residents maintain convenient, high-quality health care while advocating for what that space could be. We need to continue to push back on the untenable proposed casino in our district to maintain public space for true public use. And we need to push for true hybrid meeting options and revised committee schedules so that our meetings are accessible, transparent, and a manageable volunteer commitment for all of us. Longer term, we need to continue to develop a community of innovation. The Spark site and redevelopment of the health building across the street is a step in the right direction, but leaves many community needs at the wayside. We need to continue the successful philosophy of proactivity and advocate hard for affordable housing, dedicated community board meeting space, and all kinds of other ideas I've heard from all of you during this campaign. Externally, I will use the public square to make sure we are heard and that our needs are met. The board chair must reach out to agencies and electeds to let them know what we want and build coalitions with other community boards and local stakeholders. My professional background in media and technology gives me the unique ability to further our work in a world that is increasingly harnessing influence through those channels. Our current leadership has led us through difficulties and brought us to a place of great promise. I believe my creativity, persistence, and ability to bring people together will help us achieve our potential. I would be honored to have your vote for chair and board for life ahead.
Thank you very much, Brian. We'll now proceed to the board submitted questions that were not already covered in candidates' written submissions. To ensure a level playing field, I'll alternate who answers each question first. Brian, since you just spoke, we'll start with Sandy. It may be helpful if you guys hang up. Sandy, directed at you first, and then Brian. How do you envision your partnership with the vice chairs? Oh, I'm sorry, before you begin, Jesus, the one time I forgot to give you a second to get ready, sorry. Whenever you're ready, Jesus.
Maybe it's 1 minute per response.
Yeah, so brevity is beautiful.
Okay.
I must say, I was on the bylaws committee where we debated a lot, what is the role of the first chair? And I think both of the people running have some good ideas, but I really think they need to develop a mentorship for strategy. This is something that we really need and has been sort of ad hoc in previous years. I think we need to reach out to our community and potentially the first chair, all our different community groups, and potentially the first vice chair could do that. They, of course, have to replace the chair in situations where that's needed. Borough board is a place where we really want a better representation. We want to have more impact. So I think all of those things are going to be very important. And basically help set the vision for the board, help with that transparency and make sure that everyone has a voice in how we run.
Thank you, Sandy. Brian, if you don't mind approaching the podium. Same question, Brian. How do you envision your partnership with the vice chairs?
In addition to the bylaws declared responsibilities that the vice chair has in backing the chair, I have a plan of delegating and coming up with a shared vision for the board and the district. There are many duties which can be shared. We have a lot of talent that will be on executive committee, and I look forward to working with them to figure out what mix of duties and responsibilities would work best for them, for us to get as far as we need to get. It's all hands on deck.
Thank you, Brian. Brian, since Sandy started, you're now in the hot seat. Brian, what is your plan to run the CV6 meetings efficiently so that people who work or have families can be included in the process?
We need to continue to maintain best practices and provide trainings or assistance for any of the committee chairs to continue to run the meetings in an efficient manner. We need to continue to look at the rescheduling of committees and finalize that and firm that and continue to have discussions with the committee chairs about what they feel comfortable with and what the board's needs, along with the first vice chair and the second vice chair, to see what the proper report on that is. And also, we need to fight for a true hybrid option in our meetings so that that our meetings laws and structures are not encumbering us from performing efficiently and are not needlessly wasting people's time in burdensome requirements. And I think we can really work on that and get some progress.
Thank you, Ryan. Sandy, what is your plan to run the CV6 meetings efficiently so that people who work or have families can be included in the process?
I totally agree with Brian that we need to get a more robust hybrid way of running our meetings so that people don't have to attend in person if they cannot, if they're not able to. I mean, it shouldn't really just be up to the committee chair to decide who has a viable reason for not attending. I also think if we allow the committees to have a really vested interest in the agenda and help create the agenda, that it will make the meetings more robust and probably more people will really want to attend them and to participate within them. So I think those two things definitely will help to make our meetings fruitful and meaningful. I know people want to have a voice, but we need to have, we don't want to waste our time. We want voices that are clear and thoughtful and invested.
Thank you, Sandy. Sandy, you're in the hot seat.
Okay.
This is fun. Oh, yeah.
For you.
Sandy, do you think board members should have an official or a CV6 dedicated email account?
I think that's totally up to them. I know in the past it has not been an issue. I think it's probably a good way to organize. I have sort of 5 or 6 email accounts, I confess, and they all get mixed up. So the idea of having one that's dedicated to board business is probably good. I believe it would be done through Gmail though, not to, I don't work with Gmail. But I don't think it's necessarily something that's going to come through the board system. So yes, people who want to identify definitely.
Thank you, Sandy. Brian, do you think board members should have an official or CD6 dedicated email?
Yes, and we would start procurement on that on day one.
Thank you, Brian. Brian, this is your final answer. Brian, Robert's Rules of Order require a 2/3 majority on several procedural matters, for instance, to close debate, to prevent a tyranny of the majority. But the bylaws seem to say majority rule on all matters. What are your thoughts?
We follow Robert's Rules of Order, and one of the issues that continue to come up during my conversations with board members was adherence to parliamentary procedure. We have some little tweaks we can make, and I appreciate all your suggestions on that.
Thank you, Brian. Sandy, same question. Robert's,
I remember the question. Thank you. My understanding is that our bylaws supersede the rules of order. That's one of the ways that it works. Although again, I think we do need a parliamentarian to be part of our meetings so that we can get this feedback, in real time. I think it's probably not a bad idea to have a 2/3 majority because there are some issues that really warrant that. But again, it's probably open to more discussion.
thank you, Sandy. Thank you both for your thoughtful responses. We're now going to move on to the next race for first vice chair. John Kelly, the floor is all yours. You have 3 minutes, begin whenever.
Might be the second with the mic there.
Oh, take your time.
I'd like to thank the nominations committee and our board office for your work and diligence around the selection. A board member recently reminded me that he asked me to describe advocacy. And to me, advocacy is not something you define, but it's something you do. It's waiting in the bitter cold for an hour to go inside and speak for 3 minutes on that matter that is important to people. Advocacy is the product of a passionate belief in hearing and belief in bettering our communities. I look around this group. It's a Wednesday night in November with the holidays approaching, but you all made time to attend because you're passionate about what matters to you. So you get it. And I'm humbled to be standing here and asking for your support. Throughout this campaign, I've come away from our conversations convinced that New York City, despite its many challenges, is in good hands. I've learned not just from this process, but from my experience as a board member and committee chair, that all of us won't always agree. But I know we can only move ahead if we commit to 2 values, reaching reasonable consensus and most importantly, working together in a respectful manner. Through my leadership as chair of Youth and Education, we advocated for Wi-Fi for students in temporary housing. We connected directly with schools and listened to their needs. We brought together parents and DOE leadership to support students during the pandemic. And while other districts debate whether to welcome migrant children, we're on the forefront of how to support those children in our schools. As a member of the Business Affairs Committee, I've worked with Chair Claire Brennan and with Chair Elvie Barroso of Health and Human Services to fight illegal cannabis stores in our district. Together, we've sought much needed improvements to the OCM's processes so that law-abiding businesses can flourish. Our recommendations have been implemented by Governor Hochul, and they've helped inspire recent legislation by Councilmember Powers to shut down illegal shops as soon as possible. The work I've led on the board has not been individual, but collaborative. Together, we've driven action for the betterment of our community. Fostering collaboration among board members and across committees is critical to the results we can get. As first vice chair, I'd be committed to not only supporting our new board chair, but all of you. Working with the executive committee, I built out a strong mentorship and training program to support committee chairs and members, especially new members. But most importantly, I'll always remember that we're working together towards a unifying goal, making our communities better. And thank you for your time, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you, John. Captain, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, John. Thanks for serving. Okay, this next touch, thank you.
Whenever you're ready.
Our community district has been home to my family for 21 years. My wife Kathy and I are raising 3 teenagers. For years, Kathy and I have looked for ways to help make the community more inclusive and inviting. We started as volunteers with a diversity of community members. I started by coaching Little League. In the first game, one of the players cried whenever we told him it was his turn at bat. But by the end of the season, I enjoyed seeing him show many signs of self-confidence. I started to find ways to help improve the greater community. In 2019, I joined CB6. The first resolution that I drafted was for public access to the Morgan Library Garden. Last year, it opened to the public. That was too long a time for me, though. I found ways to quicken community progress. I did so by tinkering with and finding an effective formula. Here's the main ingredients. Listen to the community. Work with the community. Be transparent. Be a coalition leader, not a lone wolf. Attract media coverage that actually moves the needle. I've served on 4 CB6 committees. When I was park chair, it greatly helped that we invited community groups and individuals to present to the committee. We learned that this insight gave us a lot of accomplishments. As I continue to engage deeply and daily with the community outside of 2 all-volunteer nonprofits that I run, many in the community ask, what the heck does the community board do? Within the board, some members have rightfully asked to be mentored, including being taught about parliamentary procedure, yes, Robert's rules, and being introduced to the community decision-making outside of CB6. I have a vision for the first vice chair's duty to include leadership on both inclusivity and mentorship. I've already started drafting a game plan towards this goal. It's an approach I know well. For example, I coach the track team at a middle school in our district, and we focus on inclusivity and inter-student mentorships. I prioritize that each member of the team gets to know, respect, and support every other team member. That's how you make the travel spot. I hope I have your vote. I hope I've earned it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. So John and Kevin, congratulations on answering all the questions from the board in your oral statements. You both did A+ today. Do other candidates in uncontested races wish to make a statement before we proceed to vote? I see one of them shaking there. I see 2 people. Seeing none, we'll move forward. Let's proceed to the vote. Those few CB6 members who are joining us online, please remember that state law requires your camera to be on and your name be visible. Push the vote at the selection. So if your camera is not on, please do not submit a ballot. For those members who are present, please use the digital ballot that you've been provided. The CB6 staff can provide you with the link if you do not have it. This ballot is very similar to the one you are accustomed to using for voting on resolutions. All you need to do is click on the link to open the ballot. Select your name from the drop-down list, and then select your preferred candidate for each of the board officer positions or that you're abstaining. I will announce the final vote counts once voting is concluded. Please raise your hand if you have any questions on how to submit your vote. The meeting will now stand at ease for a few minutes while you submit your votes and we get a chance to tabulate them. Thank you very much.
The ballot, Brian has it, and we'll go around with the QR code. Those who want a candy break, we're gonna be here for at least 5 minutes. Don't stray far, don't stray far. There's candy up here. No, I did not, it was Rich Mints. You owe your sugar rushes to him. And so you've got about 5 or so minutes to stretch your legs, don't go run errands or anything, but piece of candy has a blade in it. That's
You said razor blades, right? Just
Um,
one. Just
they
one.
cannot-
Will you, my lucky one?
Yeah. So it looks like Lydia, Letty, and
Submit your ballot.
sorry, first. I'm going to resend the ballot link to Letty since she has not voted back. I will do that shortly.
Actually, she's.
I am having trouble with my online ballot. Can somebody call me? Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can somebody call me? I'm having trouble with the online ballot. Hello? Hello?
I'll call.
Hi, Letty. Brendan will be reaching out to you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Is there no sound now?
We're not back in session yet.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm having a big problem here. Thank you.
Grab a lunch at the meeting.
Thank you.
It looks like,
Okay.
you can double check, but everyone here has submitted one. That's the one browse. Let me just make sure there are no other. Yeah, everything they do is correct. Did their ballot. Everyone has submitted their ballot.
Okay, then
We're not on mute anymore.
we are not.
All right, everyone, we're gonna resume, so you take your seat. It looks like once everyone has your seat. Is everyone else out there now? No. Thank you, everyone, for voting. It's a efficient manner. It's very much appreciated. I will now announce the results of the votes. For Sandy McKee, 26 votes. For Brian, 16 votes, 0 abstention. For first vice chair, John Keller, 22 votes. Kevin O'Keefe, 19 votes, abstain 1. For second vice chair, 40 votes for Mark Thompson, 2 abstentions. For treasurer, 41 votes for Dave Turzo, 1 abstention. For assistant treasurer, 41 votes for Pete Disman, 1 abstention. For Lydia Shrednick, 41 votes, 1 abstention. Faruqo Kakad. 41 votes, 1 abstention. Congratulations to all of our new officers. Thank you very much. A very big thank you to the other members of the elections committee, Letty and Abby. You were phenomenal founding boards. Thank you so much. Pursuant to section 4A of the CV6 bylaws, all officers will begin their new terms on January 1st. The floor will now go back to Kyle. Thank you all.
All right, thank you, John. Congratulations to the new executive leadership for next year. And I especially want to thank the elections committee. So John Rico as the chair, special thanks to him. Lady Simon and Abby Cruz as well. And I do want to know that they did experiment with a format this year that was not required by the bylaws. So I do give them props for that. It is always you don't know what happens when you experiment with a format. So congratulations to that, and well run with a new format. Madam Chair, would you say something?
There you go.
I'd like to thank everyone for your confidence in me. I hope I can fill the role. And I want to say I'm going to rely heavily on Brian for excellent ideas and hope we can implement a lot of different things. So thank you very much. Looking forward to December. And again, thank you for a really well-run election. I appreciate it. It's great. Thank you.
All right, so now that the fun stuff is over, we can get to our committee reports and resolutions. We've now arrived at our committee reports and resolutions, and as a reminder, the same rules stated at the beginning of the meeting apply. To the members of the public, please note that during this session of the meeting, we only recognize questions from members of the board. The CV6 staff emailed the digital ballot to all members, so please click on the link in your email the office sent to open this ballot. Select your name from the drop-down list and select your vote on each resolution as it is presented. Please do not hit submit until later in the evening after the final resolution has been presented. At the end of the meeting, please submit after you've indicated all your votes on the ballot. You will not be able to submit the ballot unless you vote on every resolution. If you plan on abstaining, please select abstain. Final vote counts will be announced after the second roll call. So if any part of our voting procedure is unclear, please raise your hand and we will address your question. And I think you'll also be walking the QR code for anyone who needs that as well. So please raise your hand if you need any help, and Brian will be able to help you. First up, we have business affairs and licensing. Claire.
Say the fun part in this.
So fishing. They're not the same. I can't buzz.
Yeah, they're different items. Yeah, there's actually only one. I just wanted to say that we did have a very lively meeting this month. I'm not sure if people were able to listen to it. No one joined, but we did have a lot of cannabis applicants that were shared with us a little later than we usually expect, which was, had a lot of factors. As you can see on the list of items, we decided to kind of pull out the ones that we really did not think were suitable locations for these establishments and write a resolution of objection to them. For the other ones, no representatives came to the meeting. So we pushed some to ask them to come back next meeting, and then others we just decided to kind of let them go and have no comment either way. But that is, I think, all I want to say. As it started animated and heated, I would say, and I think by the end of the meeting, I do want to say Jesus congratulated us because it became productive in the end. We agreed on a short questionnaire that we're going to send all cannabis applicants before they join us for a meeting, which would be helpful getting a little bit more additional information from them in advance. And we also decided that Anton and Kevin are going to work together to create kind of a one-pager, just collecting all the information that we have from various resources and news articles to kind of keep us all aware of what's going on in the regulations and that kind of thing. We're still working to get someone from OCM to come and explain a little bit more to us, but it was a great meeting. In the end, I would also just implore all members to check the agenda, and if you have concerns about any locations that might be popping up for, liquor licenses and also marijuana licenses, cannabis licenses, join us on Thursdays. We would love to have you. So
As an early sign of Thanksgiving, I learned today that CB2 is having their licensing committee meeting tonight. They have 75 cannabis licenses on their agenda. So Thanksgiving comes early this year.
All right, so to further the agenda, I'm gonna go through these one by one. And if your question, I saw a couple of things, so if your question pertains to that particular applicant, please raise your hand and just say that. All right.
So that was for the first one.
That was- Okay, so I'm just gonna go through this again, just so we're all clear. All right, 1A, are there any questions on 1A? Jason, go on.
I have a question on the process. How many applicants were there that were should no positions taken?
I actually don't have that number. There were like 14 or 13 total, and then we have
Two.
We didn't. Best.
Okay, so any further questions on 1A? Seeing none, I'm gonna close the date on that, and please go to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 1A. All right, we'll now go to 1B. Marty?
Okay. The three resolutions don't indicate that these vendors were approved by the cannabis board. So that information is missing from each of the resolutions. As far as the second resolution, we're saying closely approximate. I don't know what that means. With liquor licenses, they have a 500-foot distance from schools or churches or things like that. By saying nearby or closely approximate, Queens is closely approximate to Manhattan. So this really doesn't give us any kind of real information insofar as why we don't want it, other than not in my backyard.
I see that. There hasn't been real clarity on like footage, whether it's around the corner 500 feet or as the crow flies 500 feet. So we kind of avoided putting that like specific language in the resolution at this time. I think as rules are seeming to change every day and a lot is still like in flux coming from OCM. So we wanted to have a stance on these that as a committee, we didn't feel were appropriate to be at these specific locations. And we together came up with this language that we thought was appropriate and descriptive. There's obviously like the address included in the resolution. So someone can stop by and look, or also, go on Google Maps to kind of see exactly what proximate means in these senses. I'll say it's obviously not in Queens, the, you know, approximation that we're dealing with. This is something that the committee came to consensus on together, and I understand, I hear you, but that's my response.
Jerry?
We had spoken.
Hi, Jerry.
I couldn't really distinguish between, because they weren't labeled what was one of the three things, but a macro. I'm wondering, piggybacking on the last comment, what decisions you made as far as like being too proximate that were community ward 6 as opposed to state law. For example, what stood out to me was your caveat part of your refusal because of proximity to a house of worship. I wanted some explanation of that. Thank you.
Yeah, so we kind of have been doing this for a long time for the liquor licenses, and that is included in the SLA kind of regulations, which is the state liquor authority. So that's something that we're used to kind of looking out for. And also OCM, the Office of Cannabis Management, highlights that without through like clarity of exactly the proximity, but it is to schools and houses of worship is in the kind of considerations.
I can't, Rule.
Hi, so my question is, yes, I actually read the law this weekend, whatever was out there, so 500 feet from school, and in fact, 200 feet from a house of worship was included in the language of the law as it was passed. What was not included in the language as it was passed was anything relating to the proximity to a park. In two of the applications, you have listed that as a reason for denial, but that's not part of the law as it's written. You cannot smoke in a public place, but it had nothing to do with the proximity of the dispensary to a park. So why was that included when it's not part of the law as it's written?
Do you want to go to Anton? Were you trying to respond, Anton?
Yes.
Yes, can we give it to Anton?
The law also says that cannot be within 200 feet of a community place. Like, what is a community place? Park, recreation area, etc.
Yeah, and I will add that, you know, this is a community ward 6 resolution, so we are able to say whatever we want in these. We're not just saying like that this is not right because of what the law says, right? Yeah.
Let's go to Abby.
Where I'm very ignorant of this, but has our board developed a set of standards that we're applying uniformly across all of these applicants?
In what form?
In terms of looking at, are they near a house of worship? Are they near a park? Are they in that list enumerated anywhere?
No, not at this point. We're like way too early in the process, and as
Yeah, I can give a little bit of clarification on that. So the OCM has a set, obviously there's a law, and then there's a set of guidelines that were, I think the most recent one was July or August that they're updated. That state certain proximity issues, state operating things of that nature. So that is the guideline we're following. But the issue that we're seeing now is, for example, is it 500 feet straight through other buildings to get to the entrance? Is it from door to door? Things like that, which is why Claire and their committee have written the resolutions in that matter. Marty?
Over the years.
Or Brian, can you?
Over the years, the board has developed guidelines for many different things. We had one on bollards, we have one, you know, like the outdoor cafes, where the city had 8 feet, we did 10 feet, but we voted on it as a board. The particular committee that was involved in the specific issues would set up guidelines. Resolution would come to the board would then vote on it, and then would be then the official guidelines for our board. And I suggest that the committee do that in the next meeting.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we can work on. Thank you.
All right, Jason and Jim in the back.
So you mentioned before that there were two other applicants for cannabis licenses in the district. What was it about those that were not opposed? Given that the criteria for this particular one and the others were fairly narrow in terms of like proximity to schools, parks, and for housing, what was it about the other two that made them more suitable to not be objected to?
That's a good question. They were both like very much in the central business district, not, in dense housing locations. And there were many, the biggest issue for the committee so far has been proximity to schools. So that's like, really what we were highlighting, but the most, but yeah, it was in, an area where there was a lot of retail, and not really any establishments that we flagged that would interact negatively with a cannabis operation.
Jim.
Call the question.
Call the question, all right, because I do want to keep mindful that we don't have much time left, so some of these questions can be talked offline or.
Please.
Yeah.
That's like what we love to talk about there.
All right. So I see that most of these questions are not application specific, so let's just go through these. Are there any questions or objections to item 1B? All right, seeing none, we'll go to a vote. Please go to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 1B. Are there any questions on 1C? Stu?
1C, the facility would be right next door to a school. That's within. The law already prohibits that, right? I mean, we don't have any say, no one has any say about that, right?
We've kind of discussed this in our committee as well. We can take the risk and just be off, like have nothing on the record for this applicant, but theoretically they wouldn't go through based on that. But for somehow they got to our desk and we just wanted to make it clear that we oppose this because it's right next to a school and kind of highlight that. Whether OCM chooses to read our resolution and like do anything with it is out of my hands, but I think that it's better for us to reiterate the proximity to school for them on the off chance that they do read these resolutions.
All right, any further questions on 1C? Jason?
This is more of a statement than question. Just from my view on the reasons that for this and the other applicants that were requesting opposition to them, I find it hard to understand how any shop within the district would not be in close proximity to a school, park, house of worship. And given that it is legal to open up a shop selling cannabis, I don't understand why it would be impossible for a shop to open up cannabis if this is the criteria that we're applying in our community. And lastly, when you look at the location of each of these shops, on the map, they are in close proximity to shops that are selling alcohol and that are openly advertising alcohol within their storefronts. In my view, I don't see, given that they are both legal recreational products for adult use, I don't understand why it is acceptable within our community for those shops to operate and to market those products, whereas shops that would be selling cannabis that are subject to much tighter regulation in terms of their advertising and their presenting to the community, why those would not be acceptable in these locations when they're in close proximity to locations for selling alcohol in much more visible way.
Okay, thank you very much, Jason. Are there any further questions on 1C? Eric, go ahead. Go Eric, then Jim.
I just had a quick question procedurally. If the resolution is to object to it, if it gets voted against, I guess you're not approving it?
You would be for it.
You are?
Yeah.
Then the community board is saying we're for it.
If you oppose it. If you oppose it, you are not against objecting to it, so if it were to pass, if everyone said no against it, we wouldn't be objecting to it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
But it doesn't make the resolution affirmative.
Yeah,
I know that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim? All right, call the question. Seconded by anyone? Marty? All right, seconded by Marty. Please go to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 1C. Any questions on 1D? All right, seeing none in person or online, please also mark your vote for 1D. Those are resolutions. Do you have a report, Claire?
I think I started with it, sorry.
Perfect.
But thank you for the questions, I really appreciate it, and I implore you to join us and bring these up because it's really.
Thank you, Claire. All right, we'll now move on to land use and waterfront.
If you mean with one resolution, and actually John and Majed wrote their resolution, so. Oh, so Majed will answer any question.
Do you have a question?
Yeah,
All right, Stu, go ahead.
yeah, it's a question or a statement. I don't think it looks like a resolution. It's not even a conditional resolution. It says, we will favor this if we like your answers to our questions, which you haven't answered yet. I don't know how anyone is supposed to act, and I don't know what we are advocating.
And just to explain, actually, the city planning is coming to us next month with an official presentation on the city, this particular aspect of the city of Yes. So really what this is just putting out our questions to city planning. So there really isn't a forum for us to do that. I mean, we'll be doing it as individuals, so we wanted to make sure our questions were coming from the full board. So I guess at this point, if there are any additional questions that people would like to add, that could be done at this point. So really, yes, we're not saying you must do this, we're just saying these are questions that we're looking for the city planning to address when they do the final City of Yes text amendment.
Is that a resolution?
Technically, it's probably not, but we speak through our resolutions, so that's the only real forum we have for doing this.
Rich in the back.
Yeah, I just want to confirm what Danny just said. We discussed this in committee, and this was the course of action that we came to in order to get our sense of the committee on the record for POB and the plan.
Yeah, city plan.
All right, are there any further questions on this item? Anything online? All right, seeing none, I'll close the debate then and we'll move to a vote. Please go to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 2A. While people do that, do you have a?
Yes, and city planning will be coming to us with a more complete presentation on the City of Yes business, the business aspects of it. Housing has not been fully developed yet, that'll be later in the year. And also, the EDC is coming to us with a presentation on the pinch point design. So the East Side Coastal Resiliency is addressing the gaps in the Greenway, so that they have developed the flyover for the pinch point at 14th Street to a point where they're willing to present it to the committee. So those two items, I highly recommend coming and taking. Also, we were awarded 2 planning fellows this year, which is fantastic. One is going to be looking at POPs, and Majed and I met, and Jesus met with her this morning. She's all about data and analyzing, which is very good. It's something we don't have the expertise to do. The second one is going to look at coastal resiliency, and Gabe is going to be looking at that for our committee. We are also going to be looking for other people to get involved.
Thank you very much, Sandy. I will now move on to transportation.
Okay, resolution 3A regarding New York City Council Intro 075/2022 in relation to requiring that every bicycle with electric assist, electric scooter, and other legalized motor vehicle be licensed and registered. This is a negative resolution in which we are recommending that this intro as written is not passed because it does harm to the community without clearly providing a benefit. You have your hand raised, Jim?
Jim, go ahead.
I think this resolution is a little heavy-handed, given that what this would allow, what Holden's bill would provide is basically a hearing. If we get 34 members of the city council to sign on to it, there can be a hearing, there can be amendments to address the scooters, there can be discussion of whether it applies to all e-bikes or just e-bikes over a certain miles per hour. And I hear from the community all the time about these e-bikes and the scooters and their disregard for the law. You know, we mentioned in the resolution, oh, it's already against the law. Well, yeah, but talk to the cops and the cops will tell you that there's nothing they can do to ticket these guys because they're gone the minute they see the violation. And the cop mentioned that to me last night at the Manhattan Bridge. I asked him, I said, because I almost get hit by, I walk the Manhattan Bridge 5 days a week. And the scooters and the bikes are in that lane, in the pedestrian lane, not the north end.
Jim, let's get to the question, please.
Well, it's not a question, it's a statement. I would
Let's
move
get
to
to it.
table this resolution and let, I would also remind you that 2 of our 3 city council members support Bob Holden's resolution.
I think the resolution as presented is very simple. That there's an intro before the council currently, it describes a policy matter, and we prefer that the council do not pass it as is. Doesn't prescribe them from discussing the matter or presenting a different policy package or different resolution with similar gains. We have our own recommendations that I wanted to restate. I spoke with the council member, one of them who, I spoke with the office of the council member who was a sponsor on the bill, and they had no idea about our e-mobility resolution from June. They didn't know that we passed anything. So I think part of this is that we want to get attention to the issue, but we want something positive. Like, we're not just saying that this is not an ideal situation. The way that they have it framed is that any bicycle or anybody riding anything that looks like a bicycle might be able to be stopped for an equipment check because there really isn't a way to determine the difference between an e-bicycle and a normal bicycle. And as a matter of fact, there's so many different other kinds of bicycles that it just seems very vague and underwritten. And I think it's very fair for us to ask that they reconsider something as is before they pass it. Because if they do trigger that hearing, they can debate it and can pass it as is. And this committee voted decisively that they don't want that.
Right, thank you. Let's go to Mike. And then what is Jason?
There can be no hearing unless that certain number.
Jim,
sign up.
you are recognized. Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's true.
Thank you. I just want to voice my opinion on against this. The past 2 weeks I've been on street corners, you know, getting off the early road, and yesterday voting for election day. And the #1 issue in our district has been the e-bikes, the dangerous, and that's the one thing that voters kept on saying, or people of this district. And a lot of people, and I'm not going to name names, have mentioned this bill and it's calmed them down. You know, that there is something being done. Now, the bill isn't perfect, I get that. And I do think after a hearing, there should be changes on it. I think it's gaining a lot of momentum right now. I think there's 33 people signed on to it. They're so close to getting it. And the people signed on to it is very surprising when you see the elected sign on to it. They're all different political beliefs, let's say, and all different bipartisan bill. I just think for us, and especially after hearing so many people in our district and how they feel, having the resolution, it's kind of getting away from something that I think the community actually wants. So that's my piece.
Thank you, Mike. We'll go to Jason now.
Thank you. In regards to the issue of e-mobility vehicles being a danger and concern of the community, I don't think anybody's disputing that there is a need to change policy and improve safety for pedestrians and these vehicles that can sometimes be operated in a dangerous manner. In my personal viewpoint and the viewpoint of this, I don't know if it's me, but my own personal viewpoint is that this bill doesn't appropriately address those matters, and it is a lip service to to the issue, but not proposing a realistic solution to the problem of dangerous operation of these mobility vehicles. And we have, Brian mentioned before, passed a resolution with recommendations on how we could effectively improve safety for our e-mobility vehicles, and pedestrians into mobility vehicles. And I would prefer to see those recommendations implemented rather than an ineffective system of registering bicycles, which this bill requires. One other point that I want to make is we currently require registration and license plates for motor vehicles in New York City, and there's a prolific problem of vehicles obstructing and removing and defacing those license plates. So I fail to see how a solution requesting new implementation of license plates would be effective, given that we're not able to solve the current problem of obstructing license plates.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Barack. I'll guys head over first.
Thank you. In favor of this resolution. It doesn't distinguish between any type of e-bike, class 1, class 2, class 3. That's city bikes. That is, e-assist, pedal assist. There's a lot of e-bikes that just look like regular bikes, and you can't tell the difference. And certainly there's no way NYPD or any people on the street can tell the difference. So just lumping these all together is just going to cause a vehicle for harassment of cyclists, stopping them randomly. I definitely agree that, a class 3 e-bike that's a throttle that can go 25 plus miles an hour needs some regulation, but this bill just doesn't work.
Thank you, Barack. We'll then go to Sandy and then Jim.
And I just wondered if actually the basis of the resolutions that you don't want licensing, or is it we think if the bill is going to go ahead, that it should incorporate these things?
I think the idea is that it is a comprehensively badly written bill, and that we don't get a whole lot into making an argument that it is a bad idea to try to identify bicyclists in any sort of way. There was actually a committee discussion about potential with that, but in a way that would be either incremental or less disruptive, or would be fairer to bicycle owners by doing something like what the city is trying to do with mopeds. Mopeds currently, as Assembly-Member Boris said, there are so few registered because they're not required to be registered at point of sale at the moment, and that legislation is going through to require that. That would be something that would be very thoughtfully included in a registration bill for class 3 bicycles or something like that. But this is very broad and it's incomplete, and it's being proposed at the same time by the council member Holden, who's also proposing a complete ban of bicycles with 8 sponsors. So there's a feeling that there isn't a lot of thought behind this. We think that the council members that are interested in this could get behind a differently written bill. Do they have the ability to rewrite that? Yes. Have they? No. So that's our recommendation for the moment.
You have a follow-up to that? It's Brian, just gonna, for the people online.
Sorry. I'm just wondering if the resolution wasn't written that way, it might have more, we could, these are things we think should be included instead of being negative, be positive. That's, again, just, I think might help with it too. For people.
Yeah, we are actually recommending our e-mobility resolution that we passed in June, which is an attempt to address the problem with design, interventions and enforcement and education. And it passed the board and nearly unanimously. And we what was I going to say? We did also talk through this issue, but we didn't have consensus. It does seem to be fairly complicated to come up with a scheme like this, but mostly this is about how the bill just says license plate, and we don't recommend that a full-size automotive license plate be stuck on the back of bicycles. It's ineffective. And
all right, let's go to Jim.
Again, this bill is, or this resolution is too heavy-handed. It speaks too loudly to say that we want to cancel this bill. Again, the purpose of the bill and getting 34 sponsors of the co-sponsors of the bill is to get it to a hearing. If there are issues with the bill, they can be corrected at the hearing. That's how this process works. I don't understand why we think we are writing for the city council. That will happen when there is a hearing, when all of these issues are addressed. But right now, nothing is happening. And I know that there's strong opponents of this bill from Transportation Alternatives, among others. Transportation Alternatives, as we all know, is funded by Uber and Postmates and all the other big delivery companies. They want this bill killed because they don't want their bikes, their independent contractors to have to go through the contract purpose. So I'm strongly opposed to this, and I cannot urge it any stronger. For that reason, I'm moving to table and request a second.
I don't think from a parliamentary thing, do we have a parliamentarian, Marty?
No. You can't talk, you can't.
Yeah,
You can't talk on an issue and then say you wanna table it.
Yeah, just to be clear, I did not have a conversation at all.
No, I know
about
you
this.
didn't.
The transportation alternatives did not come to our meeting to aid the discussion. I wrote the resolution. I'm the one that second.
Understood.
Okay, I want to move to the Roberto's cancel. Okay, were there other statements that want to be made before that call question? All right, I have a call question. Is that seconded? I have a call to question. Seconded by Restaurant. All right. So please go to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 3A.
Our next resolution on the transportation agenda, requesting that daylighting provisions be enacted at intersections throughout New York City. There's a state law that covers most of the state that requires 20 feet of distance between crosswalks and parked cars. The city opted out of this through some legislative policies a long time ago. We made some recommendations that they opt back into it, that they start to add daylighting to new intersections, and then they pass an intro before the council to start converting intersections at a pace that is administratively feasible. We actually had a discussion about how much the pace should be citywide and in the district. We settled on 10 intersections per year as per the intro for our district dedicated. And to prioritize dangerous intersections. Does anyone have any questions?
All right, seeing no questions on 3B, I'll close the debate and move it to a vote. Please go to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 3B.
Our third transportation resolution, I'll try to get through this quickly. We had some conversations about parking and trash collection and dirty streets in the vicinity of the 13th precinct. And what we heard was a lot more complicated than a common community narrative on this. For one thing, the 13th precinct is just one of many police division residents of the buildings that comprise the 13th precinct building, former police academy in the rear. There are a lot of other divisions that meet there, including some higher up divisions. There is a lot of equipment that is being parked in the vicinity of that station. There are fewer police officers commuting into work for the 13th precinct via car than some had initially estimated. We heard that 75% of the 13th precinct officers commute into the district via transit. And that was a reassuring number. And so after looking at the problem and after getting a recommendation from Jason to do something about the equipment being parked on 2nd Avenue, blocking bus lanes, causing unneeded congestion, we have a recommendation to expand police designated parking on some places in the district where they cause less of an obstruction issue for transit users and for traffic along 2nd Avenue. We also looked at the trash issues and the curbside cleanliness issues. Our basic recommendation is the recommendation in the resolution for custodial attention on that. And to be fair, there are facilities at the building that are shared among all the departments that have to clean up stuff. We think that those folks should get under cars along the street on 21st Street to address some of those issues, because we know that there are difficulties with the street sweeping along there because of police equipment and people not attending to the vehicles. Those are placarded vehicles, so they're legal to park there given our system.
Any questions on 3C? We'll go with Stu first.
So you're allocating parking spaces in part for police officers to park their personal cars in these spots, right? If they have a parking plate, they can park in these spots. Is that correct?
So the parking that exists now, any police officers with a placard can park in any of the spots they'd like. This is merely converting existing parking spaces that are metered or that are unmetered into parking spaces that are dedicated for police uses only. And we were given a convincing case that there's a significant amount of police equipment parked in that district that does need to be parked near that facility.
It's not just the police equipment. We're giving police officers extra space and convenience to park their personal cars.
We don't know that for sure. And I will admit that my thought is that, yes, a police officer with a placard in a personal car can find a parking space in that area and can use these parking spaces for the police equipment. But they can also use parking for, they can use metered parking, they can use unmetered parking, they can park along the avenue, they can park in bus stops. They can do a lot of things with those placards. We are going to continue to interface with the precincts to try to make sure that the critical areas are clear. And this is part of an effort to do that.
Okay, I think Eric had your note.
Just to what extent have you spoken with the precinct to see if they're going to, I guess, curtail or change their behavior that this is meant to address, right? So just is the police precinct said that they're gonna change their behavior with the way that they're parking and sort of blocking access to streets and roads, because that's the goal we want, right?
The inspector of the 13th precinct, Inspector Orlando, showed up to our October meeting and discussed the issue with us and gave us insight into the issue. And it's going to be an ongoing issue to make sure that there are not violations in the area. But this is specifically meant to provide more space for what is, in a lot of cases, obviously NYPD marked vehicles being parked on Second Avenue.
All right, and Majed?
So first, thank you, Brian. I was on the committee when we discussed this and you made a great space for discussion. I just want to highlight, I'm in opposition of this because at the heart of this resolution, we're trying to clear the bus lanes to improve movement up bus lanes on Second Avenue. Now, it might sound like a good idea, just give them more parking, they'll park somewhere else. But the heart of the issue is enforcement. If we give more parking, simple, the concept of induced demand. More parking is available, therefore you're more likely to drive to work. This does not guarantee that the bus lane is going to be cleared. So I'm in opposition of this resolution because I think we need to focus a little bit more on a commitment from the precinct to clear the bus lane for buses and find maybe other solutions for where police vehicles could go. So that's why I'm in opposition of it.
Thank you, Majed. We'll go to Jason and then Marty.
I just want to point out that the important component of the resolution reflects that the NYPD, as a part of allocating this additional space, strictly enforce parking regulations. In the areas of the hope is with that encouragement and their participation in this process that they would take these additional spaces and ensure that they are utilized, and not other spaces that are illegally parked and utilized today would be used instead. My opinion on this is that this has been an issue for 10 plus years, forever, and this is an attempt to do something about the matter. I'm at a loss for what else can be done other than putting up barbed wire to protect the bus. So I would like to see an attempt at some progress on this issue from this requested from this board.
All right, thank you, Jason. We'll go to Marty, or are you deferring? Jason, or sorry, Jerry.
If I'm redundant, I had aphasia. We had the recently reappointed Captain at 10 October. And there was a walkthrough that several committee members did, so it isn't operating in a vacuum. I agree with Jason that we'd like to move the needle rather than keep hovering.
Thank you. We'll go to. Are you gonna make a motion because oh, okay, well, then Marty.
This isn't anything new. Every 10 years or so, we go through this same process. We discuss it with the XO. And he says, well, we'll talk to the men in the department. I'm really surprised that it's 75% take mass transit, you know, because that hadn't been the case. And pretty much the entire square block on 22nd, 21st, Second Avenue was everyone's personal cars. That it's also the official cars and other equipment. It just exasperates the problem. In fact, this isn't anything new, and we've had other resolutions to this effect. That should giving specific places is something new, and I support.
And one thing that has evolved in recent years is the redivisioning of Second Avenue into having a protected bike lane on the one side and having a dedicated bus lane on the other side. The bus lane has hours that may even exacerbate the situation, since a car can park there when it's technically not open and then stay there while it's supposed to be open. I think a big focus on this was getting equipment out of the bus lane. We are trusting the precinct to be good neighbors on this and act in good faith in what we're providing, especially because there's a lot of equipment parked on Second Avenue that is, again, actual NYPD vehicles with the markings. Even not vehicles, but just like the light signage and stuff like that. There's been one parked at 2nd and 21st now for 2-3 years.
All right, Brock.
Yeah, I share Jed's concerns about induced demand. So 75% of the precinct takes public transit. So now they have 53 parking spaces. So why don't these guys just taking public transit? Why don't they just drive in, since we're giving them a free parking spot? The goal is to get the Second Avenue bus lane clear. It's never going to do it. As long as the Second Avenue bus lane is against the curve, there's too high demand for the curve, and it's always going to be blocked. So the bus lane has to get moved and has to get offset. It's the only way it's going to clear the bus lane.
All right, thank you very much. One last thing, Jason, one last thing.
All right, just a quick thought on the induced demand concerns. Today, as long as the police officer had a placard, they could park pretty much wherever they want. So there's plenty of space to be parked illegally in the area around the 15th precinct. I suspect my belief would be that if they are choosing not to drive to work today, it is not because there's a lack of parking available to them. It's because there's other factors like traffic and other considerations that make public transit more attractive to them to reach their precinct. So I don't believe this will create induced demand, given that they effectively have free reign of the neighborhood with the existing regulations we have in place.
Okay. And with that,
And just on top of this, this conversation brought out the need to discuss placard reform as a separate issue, but unrelated to specifically the equipment being stored in that complex, but somewhat related to how all precincts, count on these things.
okay, and with that, are there any motions? Sandy?
I'd like to move the question.
All right. Sandy is calling to question, seconded by Mark. All right, so please go to your ballot and vote for 3C. And once you have done that, you can finally hit submit. All right, and do you have a report?
No, I wouldn't.
All right. Next up, we have youth and education.
Very brief, meeting at the hour's late. We had a very productive meeting with the superintendent of District 2, Kellen McGuire, regarding children of asylum seeking migrants our schools, and we look forward to continuing with that, with that good work as we move ahead.
Thank you very much, John. Next up, we have housing and homelessness. Rich?
Yes, just two things. We had to cancel our meeting last month because we could not make quorum and we had resolutions on the table. Unfortunately, our meeting this month is on the Monday of Thanksgiving week. And we're not sure if we're going to meet quorum. So if there's an RSVP message out for you, please respond so that we know that we can make quorum. The other thing is, the only thing I'll bring up is that in a previous meeting, there was conversation about the open air street market near 14th and A, which is just outside our district, just across the street, but affects people in our district. We had a very productive conversation with Department of Homeless Services, DSS, including both our community liaison and the person who's responsible for managing street outreach. We'll talk about that more in the meeting, but one of the things that they proposed is that we convene some sort of community cross-agency conversation about it so that we can bring everyone together. Apparently when agencies convene things, it gets complicated and political, but we are honest brokers for the whole community. So that's all that I'm going to say today, but please come to our meeting a week from Monday.
Thank you. Next up,
I see Larry has his hand raised.
Larry, do you have a question?
Yes. There's an additional block on First Avenue, west side, between East 14th Street and East 15th Street, which has turned into a similar kind of uncontrolled environment, which is spilling over into the protected bike lane and is presenting a hazard both to pedestrians who can't pass and to cyclists coming past that dangerous intersection. And so this needs additional attention. That's the 13th precinct, not the 9th precinct, and it's in our community district. So I wanted to bring this up.
The conversation too. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. And I will say too that I've been speaking with Tariq, who's the chair of CB3 at our board, to create some sort of joint task force that would address those issues as well. So we're in conversations on that too, and hopefully that will lead to better cross-agency response.
Yeah, just one more thing to add. We should include the Union Square Partnership in our conversations because they reached down this far and they also will bear the issue.
Thank you, Rich. Next, we'll move on to Health and Human Services. Elvin.
I do not have any report, but I would like to introduce the new addition to our committee, Barat, who is also a physician. So now I have a partner to them. Welcome.
Okay, welcome. Next up, Budget and Governmental Affairs.
We haven't had our meeting for this month. It'll be on Monday. On the 31st, we submitted our district needs statement. And thank you, John, for updating the youth and education. For all the other committees, I hope we take a look at it and start working on it for next year. This coming Monday, we're going to be discussing how to make the open meetings law better. Assemblymember Boris last month had talked about his bill, and we're going to discuss that because from now until April, the committee will focus on governmental affairs. And then the other thing we're going to talk about is how new agencies interact with community boards. We saw the issues that we're having with the licensing of cannabis, and I think that the whole situation could have been handled better. Community boards have been involved from the beginning in that process. And so those are the things, and if anyone else has any governmental affairs issues they'd like us to talk about in our
December, January, February meeting, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I highly suggest everyone attend that Open Governmental Affairs meeting, because as some member boards, this bill was written in partnership with CD6, so if you have any comments on that, please attend that. Next up, we have Environment and Parks, Neil. Oh, Neil is waiting. Next up, we have Public Safety.
All right, last committee reports, so it'll be real quick here. So we will have a meeting for public safety next week. We did have to reschedule last month's meeting due to scheduling conflicts on the police department's side. So we hope that they will be able to join us next week. And we will also tackle the hate crimes legislation that's been introduced. So this will be our meeting next month, and then hopefully we'll be meeting again in January, skipping December due to the holidays. Just a quick note on the protests earlier this evening. 2,000 people were marching through our streets from 45th Street, First Avenue over to Grand Central. That activity has fortunately cleared. Everything is peaceful and conditions have returned to normal. So there should be no travel impacts for anybody going home that way. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Matt. All right, we're now at older new business. So board members, if you have any older new business to say, please raise your hand. All right, seeing none, we'll now go to the second roll call. Steve?
Found the mute button. All right. Members, I will now call on you for the second roll call. If you have not submitted your ballot, please do so now. If you're unable to use the digital ballot, the CV6 staff will ask you for your votes for each of tonight's resolutions. Okay. Going on the roll call in reverse order. Haider Zaidi.
Present.
Present. Laura Wong is out. Matthew Weintraub is out. Jerry Weinstein.
Present.
Ryan Van Nieuwenhoven.
Present.
Gabriel Turzo.
Present.
Mark Thompson.
Present.
Susan Steinberg.
Present.
Lady Simon.
I'm present. I'd like to say thank you to the members of our executive committee, our officers who won't be serving as of January. And I would also like to say congratulations to the new officers who will be taking over.
Here. Livia Shrednick.
Present.
Sandra Sherrod.
Present.
And is out. Larry Shire.
Present, and I also want to thank the Elections Committee for doing a fine job this year.
Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Larry.
Continue on. Roberto Ruiz Melendez.
Present.
Matthew Roberts.
Yep, here.
Miriam Roof. Miriam. Okay. Marking you as present. Stephen Perez.
Present.
Okay. Reshma Patel.
Present.
I am here. Kevin O'Keefe.
Present, and I'd also like the Elections Committee and all the candidates with the most votes. Congratulations.
Rajesh Nayar. Richard Mintz. Sandra McKee. Antal Molnar. David Lowenstein. Sandra Leftoff.
Present.
Okay. Abigail Cruzmar. Abigail.
Present.
Nadine Kalani. Okay. John Keller.
Present, and I would also like to thank both the Elections and the Nominations Committee and all of the other candidates. And I'm just very happy to be able to talk again to two important members of my committees. John and Abigail, because I haven't talked to them for the last 2 months. So thank you.
Okay, Rupal Kakad. Rupal?
Present.
Thank you. Paige Judge. Paige Judge? Sorry, I don't have my camera. Paige
She's on.
here?
She's on, but her camera isn't on, so. Paige, can you hear us?
I don't have my camera here.
All right, moving forward, Gerald Jones. Eric Goldberg. Okay, Jason Fromowitz. Okay, Barack Friedman. Okay, Beatrice Disman.
Present.
Michael Devereaux.
Present.
Stu Desser.
Present.
Jonathan Derico.
Present. Thank you all for a great election.
Thank you again. Jim Collins.
Get to run out.
Okay. Claire Brennan.
Present.
Elvie Barroso. I think I heard Elvie.
Yep, present.
Martin Barrett.
Present.
Neil Barclay.
Present.
Kyle Thide.
Present.
Majid Abdul Samad. Okay. 42 present. Moving on to the votes. For resolution 1A, we have 41 in favor, 1 opposed, 0 abstained, 0 not entitled. Well, resolution 1A passes. For resolution 1B, we have 29 in favor, 10 opposed, 3 abstained, 0 not entitled. With 29 votes in favor, that resolution passes. Resolution 1C, 29 in favor, 10 opposed, 3 abstained, 0 not entitled. Resolution 1C passes. Resolution 1D, 29 in favor, 10 opposed, 3 abstained, 0 not entitled. Resolution 1D passes. Okay, to resolution 2A, 39 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstained, 0 not entitled. Resolution 2A passes. For transportation, resolution 3A, 21 in favor, 15 opposed, 5 abstained, 1 not entitled. With 21 votes in favor, resolution 3A passes. Transportation resolution 3B, 38 in favor, 3 opposed, 0 abstained, 1 not entitled. 38 votes in favor, resolution 3B passes. Transportation 3C, 27 in favor, 10 opposed, 4 abstained, 1 not entitled. With 27 votes in favor, resolution 3C passes. That rounds out the votes for tonight's resolutions.
All right, thank you.
Hi, this is Paige.
You got you,
I got
Paige.
disconnected.
You got you, Paige. If there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. Seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 9:11.
Oh,
Thank you, everybody.
damn.
Thank you, guys.
Did you hear me, Stephen?
I did mark you as present, Paige.
Thank you. I'm sorry.